Welcome to The Writer's Dream, a program where writers talk about their books, their journeys through publishing, and the world of marketing. I'd like to tell you about a new feature of our show before we get started today, and that is that if any of the viewers would like to ask us a question, we have a Facebook page called The Writer's Dream. Just go on the page, post the question, and we will try to answer that question in the next program. Today, our guest is Richard Klebanoff. He is the creator of Courage's Cubs, Bully Side, Nat's Car Runts, and The Schmuck's Guide to Why You Don't
Want to go
Why
into
Sons
business?
and Fathers.
Why you don't want to go into business with your father or son.
Thank you, Richard. Richard, tell me about your website. Your website is fascinating. It's called my2centsmultimedia.com. Tell us about it. How did you come up with that website?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to, many years ago, about 12 years ago, partner with Irving Pector, a fabulous artist and graphic designer. He usually is instrumental in coming up with the designs and the creativity part. And the My 2 Cents comes from many years ago. As a personal injury lawyer, I decided that I saw the fabric of American society somewhat disintegrating in front of my eyes, and I wanted to put in my 2 cents on how I thought we can reverse the tide.
Very interesting, and I can see from the products that we have here that your artist is really very good. I've gone on the website, obviously, and I encourage the viewers to go on the website as well because it's so interactive.
Thank you.
Each and every character is described. Could you tell us a little bit about Courage's Cubs? What's the theme that goes through?
Courage's Cubs is a superhero character. His name is Courage. Courage is an acronym that stands for Conquer Our Universe, Rebels Against Greed and Evil. It's a fantasy animation story with adventure, but most importantly, it's a legacy that goes far beyond monetary things. It's mostly about social responsibility, philanthropy, and all the lessons other than the three R's plus all other life's lessons, including values, virtues, morals, and ethics, and the other important lessons of personal accountability, nutrition, fitness. So my focus is on many things other than the 3 R's that I found, especially what I would say Parenting 101 is probably an important one.
So was it your personal experience as a lawyer that sent you in this direction, or did you have another focus?
Back in 1990 when I conceived the idea, I was a new father at the time. So being a new parent was instrumental in the development of something important for children. I was the regional coordinator for the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. So I was interested in the K's and kindness, and I was always enamored by lions, my wife being a Leo, and just the beauty. There's something, the dichotomy of lions is just something very beautiful. They're as kind, cuddly, and cute as can be, but as ferocious as need be.
Oh, that is really adorable.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about the main story that goes through Courage's Cubs? Your main character is a lion?
Well, they're humanized lions, and Courage is a superhero character created by a character by the name of Kinder, Mr. Kinder, ergo the kindness factor. They live
K-I-N-D-E-R.
K-I-N-D-E-R. They live in a town called Kinderville, and Mr. Kinder is the chancellor and mayor, and he gets demoted, and ultimately where in most civilizations where hope and idealism clashes with uncertainty. Most times you need something beyond yourself, namely a superhero character, to hopefully help you out. So ultimately, Kinder turns into Courage, the superhero character, on his own initiative. It's technologically advanced, and ultimately, Kinder utilizes the lion cubs as his rebels for change.
So does he have like a special outfit like Wonder Woman or Superman?
That's exactly who he is.
Oh, wow.
Kinder the superhero is a global face representing universality and thinking global, acting local. He is a lion, and he has the sun radiating around him, which signifies harmony and universal and eternal peace.
I really love the idea that you have you know, a globe. It's actually the picture of the world.
Well, in a life-transforming event, in each episode, Mr. Kinder transforms into Courage the superhero by vaporizing into the globe. And he has a technologically advanced communication center internally in the globe to help him go into the past or into the future.
So then I would probably guess from what you're telling me here is that you're really more interested in getting this into some kind of a film medium.
The ultimate goal is television, and we have on the drawing board full-length feature film. But we originally had been looking for a medium, either books or other methods to enter the marketplace. And it turns out a personal injury client of mine was a artist and graphic and clothing designer. And about 10 years ago, he came to me, and he didn't come to me. I was interviewing him about a personal injury case. I opened up my briefcase. This is my team at Courage's Cubs, and My Two Cents Multimedia uses the term SS. SS stands for synchronicity and serendipity. This is one of those synchronistic meetings where I was there interviewing him about a personal injury case. I open my briefcase. He sees, just coincidentally or synchronistically, I had the brochure of my Courage's Cubs sitting in my briefcase, and he says, "What is that?" Well, 10 years later, 3 personal injury cases later, he says, "I'm serious. I've told you 10 years ago, I want to get involved with your project. I had an adult clothing line, and I want to use your characters to reinvent myself with a children's clothing line." Ergo, I sent him the drawings, and we developed a children's clothing line.
So your ultimate goal is to get it animated?
On television. We have already, yes, on
animated
television.
On television.
We have already done some of the animation, and we've done all the various drawings and settings and created the environment and created 50 storybooks, both for...
50?
Well, at least.
Wow.
On the drawing board are 50, which transform into multiple, every storybook is ultimately the subject matter for an episode. So now what we're doing is since we are forging into the publishing and merchandising arena, we've developed plush toys and other toys and merchandising items. We have always been our goal to be on television as a children's television show, and we are now putting those pieces into place by developing some of the stories into television episodes and continuing to develop the clothing line and other merchandising. And the demographics are so important with children. They run into very small increments. So you have touch and feel bath books, namely Grow Up Good, Courage's Cubs Grow Up Good. And just a little story about Grow Up Good. Courage's Cubs are like sponges. They absorb life's lessons. This is one of our thematic stories. But we met with a president of a publishing company. We were fortunate through our friends to be introduced, and through a client of mine to be introduced to a president of a major publishing company. And he reviewed it. He thought it was more for a mass market, but he gave me some very valuable advice. First advice was, I think the title's too long. So part of that is you have to listen carefully to your advisors, and you have to be willing to be flexible.
So basically what you have here, just with Courage's Cubs, is a very solid idea of teaching values, which as an educator, I taught for many years. This is something that's very important, and it's something that we struggle with because you have to do it. You can't do it from the standpoint of religion. You have to be very careful how you do it. So something like this, I'm sure, is going to be eaten up by elementary school teachers simply because of the value thing. So then the next thing that you go into when you come up with an idea like this is somebody who can really show in a way that's attractive and that's marketable what goes on.
And discussing your political correctness philosophy in development, just to show how you're working as a team and you listen very carefully to people's advice and you can't be locked into any one concept or idea. This Be Loyal, at first, was adorable and cute with a child with a military helmet on, an American flag. Okay, I showed it enough around to friends, relatives, and advisors, and the thought was, I'm apolitical, and I'm not taking any stance on the military or anything having to do.
Right.
But someone said the perception of the public might be that you are. So we went back into the laboratory and recreated that picture.
School.
We just made it more youthful. We used sports as the theme of bringing along the concept of loyalty versus the military, and that's
more easily acceptable.
Exactly, and it's just on the theory of people say, you have to be willing to change, and you can't dig your feet in on any one concept or idea, or your chances of getting published will be that much less.
Well, that is very good advice. Could you tell me about the second project that I saw on your website, which was NASCAR Runts?
Well, even though I believe that if you help one person, you're a saint, and if you help many, you're a savior, and many of my projects have to do with social responsibility, this concept was, its origin was commercialism, where my advisors, my director of licensing, Richard Rosenbluth, director of apparel, Richard Rosenbluth, I'm sorry, my director of licensing, Richard Rosenbluth, told me one day that he thought that, he asked me, what do you think the largest commercial entity in the United States is in terms of dollars? And nobody, of course, could guess it. So he told us eventually it was race car driving.
Wow.
So with that in mind, I went into the laboratory and decided to create a little offshoot story called NASCAR Runts. And ultimately...
And your characters are?
Gnats.
Gnats.
They're humanized gnats, and they are in an environment where they live in a junkyard, in the rafters of a junkyard doghouse, and they have created a racing car industry that they have now utilized. It's an environmentally sound project where the gnats utilize junk from their junkyards to create their race cars in their environment. So ultimately, we're promoting the environment while trying to have fun and fantasy and adventure. And ultimately what happened was, as an offshoot to Courage's Cubs, I've showed it to producers, and they're enamored, and we're creating that right now episodically for television because it's gotten a lot of interest.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I also see a progression here. You're going from little kids, and NASCAR Runts to me is a little older demographic.
Well, in my interest in diversifying my audience and my projects, yes, I think I have cute, cuddly, adorable with Courage's Cubs, and I was looking to go a little bit more slick, cool, and edgy with my NASCAR Runts.
Right, so there is a theme that runs through this. And then, of course, we move on to your next project, which is Bully Side, which you talk about it.
Well,
please.
That emanates, they say that art replicates life. So ultimately, as a personal injury lawyer, I was approached by an old college friend and a business associate, a chiropractor associate, and who was telling me they were having severe bullying problems with their young children. And as from the lawyer's point of view, I went to research how I could help them. And ultimately, I came back with two solutions, and that was either move or homeschool, which were very, very difficult for me to give those two suggestions to a friend or client, because I thought they were terribly adverse potential answers.
Right, or someone with limited means.
Absolutely right.
You just can't get up and move.
That's exactly right. So at this point, I had already had a number of years under my belt in multimedia production and creation, and I felt I could. And then I was listening to television, and there was a television segment about bullying, and it just really annoyed me. And I said, I have a message. I want to tell it, and I'm going to tell it, and this is going to be a socially responsible philanthropic project of mine, regardless of any commercialism. And I'm going to, although I do try to find ways to make philanthropic and socially responsible projects profitable, I felt I had to tell my message about Bully Side and what I think the media is doing to sensationalize it, what I think they're contributing to affecting it in a negative way. So I was in a networking group. I was invited to come to a networking group, and I was fortunate enough to meet Jordan Silva of AG Media Solutions, who liked my idea, and he decided to co-produce it with me. And we've been shooting it for the last 8 months, and we have an 9-minute trailer on my website that we're now utilizing to find. We're looking for 2 foundations right now to come forward, or we're seeking 2 foundations to partner with, to utilize them as 2 entities that we can contribute funds to when it's distributed and if it's profitable. We like to donate proceeds to those 2 foundations, and at the same time, we're going to go and continue to shoot our film, and hopefully it will have some impact.
The showing of the film, do you ever interface with schools?
We're interfacing with schools now in developing and researching the filming because there's many wonderful programs being, and many people in schools and many children in schools showing leadership, tremendous leadership capabilities and promise and making impact on the subject of either stagnating or helping resolve the issues of bullying. I have my own personal views on whether bullying can ever be solved, but ultimately there's a lot of people with a lot of good programs. We're doing horse ability programs. We're shooting in Port Jefferson, potentially in Port Jefferson Theater. They're doing a play on bullying. And we're trying to get some good visual filming while also highlighting what's being done well in bullying. But we're also focusing on what's not doing well in bullying, like this whole business of bullying that has been created.
Your contacts with people with computers, with websites and whatnot, has anybody come up with any kind of ideas about what to do about cyberbullying? Because that seems to be really terrible. It seems to be the new technologies are being used by people who don't have the best of intentions, and we have suicides occurring because of it.
Well, as public awareness increases, which is part of the effort that we try to utilize by getting the message out, as public awareness increases, you would hope that bullying and episodes of suicide would go down. Unfortunately, we're seeing that it's not the case. So obviously, public awareness is not enough or not the only message. We promote self-help empowerment. You know, we believe that children of any ilk should be educated to empower themselves. Yeah. And that's the biggest thwarting, potentially, of individualized bullying.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. Everything happens on a small level first before you can impose laws. Okay, so these are your projects, and what I'd like to, you want to talk about, go ahead, talk about your Schmuck's Guide.
Well, once again, from, you know, as you know, you utilize your own experience in life to create some aspects. I have my tongue in cheek all the time, and I'm very cynical. And this is not a reflection on any relationship I've had with any human being on this earth.
No.
But ultimately, I was partners with my father in my day job in the law, and my son is in law school now and venturing to be partners with his dad. And I ultimately came up, you know, you've heard about the Dummies Guide and the Idiots books. Well, I have copyrighted the Schmuck's Guide, and I have come up with my first title being the Schmuck's Guide, Why Not to Go into Business with Your Father, and at the same time, Why Not to Go into Business with Your Son. And this is a flip book. This is more written and produced more in a editorial, political satire fashion.
Okay.
And we take the same phrase, and then we illustrate it from both the son and the father's point of view. And this is one in a series of books that we are planning. And the producer has seen this book and is interested in making this into a reality TV show. So we're very happy. We're very happy about the progress of Schmuck's Guide.
So that's another great idea.
Thank you.
I'm fascinated by your marketing strategies because, of course, we know about getting the idea and we know about having people help us produce a product, and then we get into the world of marketing. And I'm looking at your clothing line here, and I've been told myself with my own books that I need to have a product so that I can sell my book. And so tell us about your clothing line.
You know, I'm not so sure if you need a product to sell your book, but as much diversity as you have, as many tentacles of the plan that you could possibly show. But right now we're in a very difficult economic time. I hate to use the phrase "in this economy," but in this economy, we're all swimming upriver, and entertainment and marketing entertainment and media is no different. If anything, it's been hurt very bad because major players in the industry are looking to stay with tried and true in terms of what they've sold before and what they already have in their possession. So thrusting forward with a new concept, new project is much harder than it was a couple of years ago. So, but we created the touch and feel. We created the clothing line as a method to thrust ourselves into the marketplace, to utilize it to get us in front of publishers, to get us in front of television, and we coincided the clothing line with a newborn infant toddler's touch and feel book. And as I was talking before, there's other demographics. There's board books for an older demographic and story narratives. So you're trying to package your products together, a clothing line with a touch and feel book, with a rattle or a mirror and some other merchandising item, in hopes that you will inspire interest and hope that somebody will say, we not only are interested in and like your work, but that we're interested in producing it and distributing it.
Well, what I like about the clothing line is that it doesn't say the brand name of the clothing on it or advertise anything except good values. I really I like.
Well, we might have a Courage is Cubs label on it
justice,
somewhere, but
truth, yeah, but
the reason why
what really sticks out is fairness.
And one of the thank you. And one of the reasons why we're getting some attention of our product in the clothing line is we have what we think is very nice, lush, beautiful art with very strong contextual messages. So we'll call that contextual art, and we are very strong. We feel we're very strong on contextual art in all our products.
Yeah, well, I am very impressed by it too, because because I'm trying to promote my own book, go into the bookstores, and when you go into the children's section of bookstores, there are all kinds of products that go with the books, and this, of course, it's eye-catching. It's a good marketing technique because you're seeing, all right, there's the book, but then they can also have a stuffed toy. You could have a Courage is Cubs hero as a stuffed toy.
And what they've educated us on, and what I've been educated on, is the more opportunities you give a retailer for selling your product, the more opportunities you have to get it in the door. So if you can take your book and get it out of the bookstore into the plush toy department or into the apparel department, and they could do a product presentation there, then your product will stand out. In the book section, if you can attach a plush toy or another type of merchandising item to your book, another opportunity to have it recognized. It all comes down to the public, children, especially for animation stories, hearing your voice, liking your characters, being attracted to your voice of your characters, and if you can get them attracted to your characters, then you open up the gateway to ultimately implement and enact your educational agenda, and hopefully that you'll have some impact.
I was going to ask you who your target audience is, but it's obvious who your target audience is, but what I like is you have 3 target audiences, actually 4, and if one of them catches on, perhaps the others will jump on the coattails.
I happen to have created multimedia projects, but I'm agreeing with you 100% that if we feel if one of our projects gets into production, we will get recognized for our other skills and talents, and they'll be looked at. And it all comes down to our famous word.
Oh.
What's the famous word?
Anointed. Anointed,
That's
yes.
the process under which we're operating now.
Okay.
My good friend Norman Wells, our director of apparel, this time I'll get it right, our director of apparel, and our senior advisor introduced me to Gary Melius, the owner of Ohika Castle, and he gave me I was looking for him to be the benefactor against bullying, and he's on board with being a benefactor against bullying, but at the same time I was talking to him about philanthropy and about social responsibility and about investment in these type of multimedia projects, and I was very fortunate that he gave me a good thumbs up on the quality of our work, the presentation. He said that we are in the right ballpark, but he said there's a lot of talented people such as you. And there are a lot of people, so you have talent, you have to get yourself into the right position of meeting the right people, and that's networking and synchronicity. And we think we're in the right position of meeting the right people and being in the right place at the right time. So he says we have 2 of the 3 elements successfully completed. Yes, and then he says,
I just wanted to say to the viewers what we mean by anointing or being anointed is that, you know, every project is, you get the idea and you have to either write the book or write the script or produce the product, and then you have to find somebody in the graphic arts world to make the product, and then you have to think in terms of either publishing or marketing the product. But no matter how you do all of this, you eventually have to find someone who will anoint you and make you the star. Correct?
There's no I in teamwork, and you have to amass a team. You have to know who your audience is, number one, for your product. Then you have to have the right skills and the right talent around you. I don't do all of this myself.
I know,
and I've surrounded myself with amazing talent of artists and graphic designers and webmasters and Sometimes, if I'm lucky, like Irv Pechter, he's all of the same. He does all of those. And then you have to get introduced and hope that you have friends or relatives or business associates willing to introduce you to the people who can get you the correct meetings. And then, as I said, Gary Melius, that's my mantra now, because ever since he told me that about a year ago, it's not the fact that you have talent, it's not the fact that you meet the right people. You have to have that right person be in the position of willingness to say, I want to do this for my 2 Cents Multimedia and Klebanoff and Pechter and Silver and my rest of my team, and I want to do it for them because they deserve to be anointed.
Okay, so what would be your dream? What would be what would be the best thing that could happen to you right now? Which company? Which venue?
Well, Courageous Cubs I live with the longest. It's been in the works for 20 years, on and off the drawing board. Other things have come up and have been pushed aside. It recently got new life about a couple of years ago with the development of the clothing line. And with the development of the clothing line, we hired a clothing consultant and a person with national retail contact. And we started to beat the pavement. And we were told that we have a great product with a great concept, and it has a lot of potential. So we diverted our resources into Courageous Cubs. What would be great for me? That someone tells me they want to either put Courageous Cubs on television, or they want to create or publish one of my first books, and then I think it will be a tsunami.
Then it'll just, yes.
Well, then I think things will happen. But people tell me that NASCAR runs 6 months in the making, might be the first thing that gets made. That's how enamored they are with that concept and that product.
We're almost out of time, so with all the discussion we've had here, what is it? Talent or luck?
I don't believe in luck. Synchronicity and serendipity comes into play, and as my good friend in Chicago, Mitchell Weiss, a chiropractor in Chicago, tells me, he had a very serious, unfortunate event that caused him to say there's no such thing as luck. It's where optimism meets, brilliance meets opportunity. It's good fortune, not good luck.
Really wonderful speaking to you.
It's so nice to see you.
Thank you for coming on the show.
I only wish you the best and well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you too. And I plan to see this somewhere.
Thank you. From your mouth to God's ears.